Imagine this. It was a season of just incredible hardship. The heat was scorching, the journey ahead was long and grueling, and the enemy? Well, the enemy was one of the most powerful empires on earth. It's in this crucible, this intense moment of pressure, that the early Muslim community would face one of its absolute greatest tests. So, let's dive into this defining moment in history, the expedition of Tabook.
The call to march came with this divine question. And wow, it just cuts straight to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? This verse from the Quran really sets the stage perfectly. It reveals a community standing at a crossroads. Some were ready to sacrifice absolutely everything, while others, as the verse says, clung heavily to the earth.
Now here's where things get really interesting. There's a major strategic shift. You see, in past campaigns, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, would almost always keep the target a secret to maintain the element of surprise. But not this time. This time, he openly announced the destination, the mighty Roman army, all the way up in the region of Ash.
And that leads to a huge question, right? Why the sudden transparency? Why on earth would you give a powerful enemy like the Romans advance notice? Well, this was no random decision. It was a calculated, brilliant act of leadership, designed to prepare the community for the immense challenge that was just around the corner.
This transparency shows you the profound wisdom behind the decision. I mean, think about it. The journey was incredibly long and difficult. It needed massive preparation. The enemy wasn't some small local tribe. It was a superpower. Announcing the true scale of the mission was absolutely essential to gather enough troops, and just as importantly, to inspire the kind of financial sacrifices needed to equip them. It was a masterclass in preparation.
But this public announcement did more than just get the army ready. It served as a kind of divine filter, almost like a sieve that would separate those with true, deep conviction from those whose faith was, well, pretty shallow. The sheer hardship of the call revealed what was truly in people's hearts.
And boy, did the excuses start rolling in. Take this one from a man named Jad ibn Qais. He claimed he was afraid he'd fall into temptation just by seeing Roman women. It was frankly a shameful excuse to get out of a difficult duty. A divine verse was then revealed, exposing that in his attempt to run away from a trial, he had actually fallen into a much, much greater one.
But it got worse than just personal excuses. Another group of hypocrites actively tried to undermine the entire mission. They started gathering in secret, spreading doubt, and trying to talk other people out of going. Their treason was discovered pretty quickly, though, and the Prophet took decisive action to stop their conspiracy in its tracks.
This really captures the stark contrast perfectly. It's like night and day. On one side, you have those who put their personal comfort first, making up excuses and spreading negativity. And on the other, you have the believers who, despite all the hardship, offered their lives, sacrificed their wealth, and just rushed to answer the call with hearts that were firm and resolute.
So, while some hesitated and made excuses, the response from the true believers was nothing short of miraculous. This army actually became known as the Army of Distress, precisely because of the immense difficulties they faced and the incredible, unbelievable sacrifices that were made to bring it all together. The Prophet's words just ignited this incredible wave of generosity. He promised paradise for anyone who helped equip this army, and the companions responded in a huge way. Wealthy companions like Uthman, Umar, and Abdurrahman ibn Auf gave vast sums of money funding entire sections of the army themselves.
But you know, this call wasn't just for the wealthy. This verse makes it so clear that everyone was expected to contribute what they could. Whether you were light, young, healthy, and rich, or heavy, old, sick, and poor, the expectation was to strive. It's such a powerful lesson that sacrifice isn't about the amount you give, but about the willingness to give from whatever you have. So, the result of this unbelievable outpouring of faith and sacrifice: an army of, get this, 30,000 soldiers. 30,000. That was an absolutely unprecedented number, and it signaled a massive shift in the power dynamics of the entire Arabian Peninsula.
And to really wrap your head around the scale of this, you need some perspective. They started with just over 300 fighters at the Battle of Badr, then 700 at Uhud, and now a force of 30,000. This wasn't just another military expedition. This was the arrival of a new nation on the world stage, one that was ready to challenge empires. Now, while this massive army was marching north, a really crucial mission was also unfolding back home. And this brings us to the story of Ali ibn Abi Talib, which teaches us such a powerful lesson, that heroism isn't just confined to the battlefield.
So the Prophet appointed his cousin Ali to be in charge of Medina, to protect the women and children while he was away. I mean, this was a position of immense trust. But of course, the hypocrites who stayed behind saw an opportunity to stir up trouble, mocking Ali and spreading rumors that he was just left behind because he was a burden.
Distressed by these rumors, Ali went to the Prophet, who comforted him with these incredibly profound words. By comparing Ali to Aaron, who was Moses' brother and most trusted deputy, the Prophet elevated Ali's role. He showed that guarding the home front, when commanded by the leader, is just as vital and just as honorable as marching with the army.
So, as the army reached Tabook and set up camp, the true victory of the expedition started to become clear. And you know what? It wasn't what anyone might have expected. Turns out, when the Roman legions and their allies heard that this massive, determined Muslim army was marching right for them, they scattered. There was no big, climactic battle. The victory wasn't military. It was a victory of faith, of unity, and of psychological dominance. It proved that the Muslim nation was now a formidable power to be reckoned with.
And this verse brings us right back to where we started. It summarizes the core lesson of the entire event. True believers, they don't look for excuses when the call comes. Their faith just propels them to act, to sacrifice with their wealth and their lives. The desire to serve is literally embedded in their faith itself.
Ultimately, the expedition of Tabook stands as this timeless lesson. It teaches us about the wisdom of transparent leadership, about the true nature of sacrifice, about the way trials reveal our real character, and about how a community, united by unshakable faith, can overcome any obstacle in its path.
It really is one of the most powerful and telling chapters from the noble life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him.